The Narrative of John Smith by Arthur Conan Doyle. Read by Robert Lindsay. Chapter 1.
"Gout or rheumatism, Doctor?" I asked.
"A little bit of both, Mr. Smith," said he.
"And pray, sir, what is the exact difference between them?"
I continued, under a natural impulse to gain a little knowledge in exchange for the red-hot skewer which was transfixing my right foot. "Why," said my good physician, tapping his tortoise-shell snuff-box, "the one is a punishment and the other is misfortune. One is in the hands of Providence and the other in your own. You can't command the weather, which governs your rheumatism, but you can command your appetites, which govern your gout."
"And so," said I, "this diabolical pain in my foot is the hybrid form of torture known as rheumatic gout, which unites the disadvantages of both disease to a dash of malignancy all its own."
"You are certainly suffering from rheumatic gout," observed Dr. Turner.
"And can be only cured by colchicum?"
"And alkalis," cried the doctor.
"And flannel?"
"And poppy heads," cried the doctor.
"And abstinence?"
"And a week's complete rest."
"A week!"
I roared, partly from emotion and frankly in response to a twinge which shot through my foot.
"Do you seriously imagine, Doctor, that I'm going to lie upon this sofa for a week?"
"No doubt of it," he said composedly. It's astonishing how calm and free from all human weakness these doctors can be until their own turn comes round to be patients, and then they raise up their voices and bellow with the best of us. "A week's rest is essential to your cure."
"Oh, it's very hard," I grumbled. "I'm an open-air man, and have not spent a day indoors for 5 years. Surely, if I get well enough to walk without pain, I may go out."
"My dear Mr. Smith," said Dr. Turner, screwing up his stethoscope and picking up a very shiny, broad-brimmed hat, "if you wish to run the risk of pericarditis, endocarditis, embolism, thrombosis, and metastatic abscess, you will go out. If not, you will stay where you are." As an argument, it was a clincher. I felt that nothing short of a conflagration or an earthquake would move me off the sofa. The very name sent a pringling and a tingling through my system. "Not another word, Doctor," said I. "I take my complaints one at a time. I'm not a selfish man. Why should I have all these when there are so many poor folk who have not an ache to their backs? But for goodness sake, what am I to do with myself? I shall die of ennui." "Not a bit of it," he answered cheerily, with his hand upon the handle of the door. "What is it that the poet says? The mind is its own place, and in itself can make a hell of a heaven of hell. You must muster your books round you and have a literary gorge to atone for bodily abstinence, or better still, get a pen, ink and paper, and grind out something of your own. It has been said that every human being has within him the possibility of producing one good book. It is obviously untrue, but all the same, there may be some mute, inglorious Miltons about who might have blossomed into poets or novelists had they been planted in proper soils."
"Depend upon it," said I sententiously, "if a man has a talent, it will find its way out of him. The frost of poverty will never nip it entirely." The doctor let go the handle and took a step back into the room, for he was a dogmatic little fellow, and as a natural consequence very intolerant of the dogmatism of others.
"No, but that of wealth will," said he. "The want of money is the sun which shines on the needy genius and warms his latent powers into life. I consider the possession of a competence to be one of the greatest curses which can befall a young man of talent." He was so carried away by his subject that he took another step forward and plumped down into my easy-chair. "How many a promising lad have I known in my student days who had it in him to rise to the highest honours of his profession, yet the possession of a miserable 100 or 200 a year has removed the chief incentive to work and caused him to dawdle along in an ignoble dolce far niente, while penniless youths, with half his brains driven by the sharp spur of necessity, passed over his head, and soon bade fair to have a yearly income which equalled his capital. If it applies to medicine, it does so evermore to all that I know of literature. The best and most successful writers seem to find the undertaking of a new work to be a painful effort. Carlyle talks of returning to his writing, not
like a warrior going to the battlefield, but like a slave lashed back to his task. If that is the feeling of an eminently successful man, how heavy and weary is the drudgery of the tyro, who has no memories of former triumphs to bear him up. I tell you, if a man is not forced to do it, he won't do it, unless indeed he is some lusus naturae, like Macaulay, who played with pens when he was in the nursery and preferred an inkpot to a Noah's Ark. A man with brains and a competence may fail, but a man with brains and poverty must succeed. So they said to Lord Southampton apropos of his son, I observed. Do you remember his lordship's reply? If Providence, he said, will find him the brains, I'll answer for the poverty. Dr. Turner had a good, hearty laugh, which was as invigorating as his most tonic prescription. He should have had the brains too with so witty a father, he remarked. But I must positively hurry on. Ooh, look at this. He showed a long column of names. They have all to be seen before I get home. Goodbye. I hope to find you better tomorrow. A little Irish whiskey or a dry hock if you must have stimulants. He closed the door behind him and was gone.